Hi, I am Lema, and you are listening to A Piece of Our Minds, where we use poetry as a catharsis to all of our overloaded fury, rage, love, and passion. The way this podcast will work is I'll read you a published poem, give a quick analysis of the poem, then I'll read you my mimic poem, which was written in response to the source poem, and finally, I'll briefly justify my response. The first poem I'll read you is How to Be a Person by Shane Koizak. The only thing is the poem is way too long, so I'll only read you half of it. And if you want to listen to the original one, then you can find it on YouTube, and if you want to read it, you can find it on Google. Let's start. How to Be a Person by Shane Koizak. 1. Find your voice. Know that not all languages contain words. Your voice could be music, it could be dance, it will be what expresses you most sincerely. Your voice is an art. If your heart is broken, make art with the pieces. 2. Remember that you're an artist. Regardless of how constantly the world would try to drive it out of you, or how a real job will try to bury the part of you that communicates your feeling when language fails, you are an artist. Whether it's with food or building robots, you will know your medium the instant you realize how in love you are with what it brings out of you. 3. Apologize. You will not always be right. You will not always be wrong. You will hopefully always be learning. Atonement is a sacrifice of pride. Explanation of why you did what you did or said what you said will not vindicate you. If the cost to heal someone is only your pride, then apologize and be grateful that you received peace at such a bargain. 4. Forgive. Realize that some are still learning. If forgiveness is not possible, then think of everything you have ever wanted to be forgiven for but weren't. Hold that uneasiness in your mind until you can feel your desire for absolution becoming a wish. Realize you can grant this wish for others. If you are waiting for forgiveness, be prepared to wait. Be prepared to stand in the path of time and wither. Respect that forgiveness is difficult. Not all trespasses are equal, and not everyone will heal according to your schedule. 5. Accept that farting is funny. Granted, not always appropriate and sometimes unpleasant, but if you cannot laugh, if you're more offended by a fart than by war, famine, political corruption, deforestation, racism, sexism, classism, the wrongfully imprisoned, the treatment of women, the foreclosing on homes while banks' debts are forgiven, if a fart offends you more than any of that, then you are not a person and cannot be helped. Join a cult. Have some Kool-Aid. The poem is beautifully written by Shane Koizak. The theme of the poem is how to be a person, or what it means to be human. This spoken word poem of his is very self-explanatory. Basically, he numbers the 10 steps to become a person. The most controversial part of the poem is step 5, which is the last step I've said in the poem, like what I read you. So accept that farting is funny, granted not always appropriate and sometimes unpleasant, but if you cannot laugh, if you are more offended by a fart than by war, famine, political corruption, deforestation, racism, sexism, classism, the wrongfully imprisoned, the treatment of women, the foreclosing on homes while bank debts are forgiven, if a fart offends you more than any of that, then you are not a person and cannot be helped. Join a cult. Have some Kool-Aid. Some people understand that fart as a distasteful joke. That some comedians and poets say only to crack you up or make you smile. However, if you are hurt by them, just ignore it, because that was not their purpose. They didn't intend to offend you or to hurt you. Then there are some who claim that this line is terrible and a low blow for Shane Koizak, because he is referring to the Jamestown massacre, where the cult's leader tricked all of his followers to drink prison-flavored milk drink, Kool-Aid, and he's belittling a sensitive subject, suicide. I like this twist. He's forcing people into doing what he advises them not to. He's telling them don't be overly sensitive and take every word for granted. However, I'm not sure if I completely agree with him. I personally do not think it is okay to joke about such topics. However, it might be that he wants us to loosen up and not be offended at jokes when we are okay with what is happening in the world. Which is a great point. A joke offends us, but somehow we are okay with what is happening around us. Things far worse than a joke. I can't help but agree with him. If a joke cannot humor you because you're too sensitive about a subject, you most probably will not be able to survive in this world. Also, maybe the author is not encouraging committing suicide in a way, but he is warning people who are offended of a fart. He's telling them someone will use you or betray you because you're simply too sensitive. Then the poem ends with a plea to stand, because once you find a purpose, you'll find everything in life. Everything will fall in place eventually. Why do you think he wrote it? And which group are you in? The group that says it's a low blow, or the other one that praises him for such a brilliant line? Now I'll read you my poem, and it's inspired by this thing that happened in school. So it's called Butter. It's by me. I didn't know. So I'll leave you with a reading. Except I'm not leaving again. Butter by me. It is a beautiful day. It is a very beautiful day. It is a very beautiful and sunny day, except I'm at school. And if it wasn't for the kids' noises, I'd mistake the playground for a steam room. And I feel like a chocolate cake long forgotten in the oven to face its doom, but nonetheless, it is a beautiful day. It seems I'm not the only one who feels the heat, though. The heat seems to cause a few of the boys' crews to rust and fall off for them to lose, because I witnessed 2 young boys grappling on the ground and another acting as a referee counting down. The rest are behind, cheering them on like the bunch of clowns they are. I nudge my friend, she looks at me, I look at her, we get a Paw Patrol in town. We approach them, I try to talk amiably, something they're familiar with, like, yo, what you doing? Keep your hands off each other. My friend nudges me, I look at her, she looks at me, I shut up. One of the wrestlers on the ground, a little boy whose name means a full moon, but has not a frown, no serenity in his looks, nor attitude, gets up. He faces my friend, he sets his fist in front of him, he stands as tall as his little toes can raise him, and aims for as far as his naive eyes can see. Then he throws his punch, his big finale. My friend shrieks he had just hit her knees. Then she's angry and I'm stunned as the next words tumble through her mouth. What do you think you're doing? No boy ever hits a girl. I don't know whether I feel like a cake baked on the oven or like the butter in the cake melted in the microwave, then mixed with sugar, mixed and stirred and blended and folded until it's no longer butter. Stripped of its identity until the yellow cannot be seen, until the yellow turns brown, until the butter is no longer butter. I feel angry and enraged. It's no longer a very beautiful and sunny day, but a very windy and stormy night. I look around. I want to speak, to say anything, but I can't bring my mouth to form a coherent word. The mess around me is too much to handle. I can still hear my friend and the moon shouting at each other, both threatening each other, both waiting for the other to break and go to Mastani's office to complain, whilst claiming that the other is too much of a coward to do that. Permanent stain. But I'm the coward. I want to say something. I want to shout. It's not okay. It is not okay what you just told him. You might see it as nothing, but I know better. Trust me, I know better. A boy is not human if he hits anyone and anything, my dear friend. You just had an opportunity to give something back to humanity and you trashed it cluelessly. I'm angry and enraged because this is not how it's supposed to be. I've never felt the meaning of being frozen and enraged until now. I can feel scorching heat running through my body, like moving the stopper from a bathtub, the water running down the drain like a tornado they describe as Bane. A tornado's in my head, words, thoughts, emotions suffocating me just when I go to bed. But I could no longer hear what they're saying. My heart beats too loud, ticking in my ears, an atomic bomb I should overbear. All I can think of is the little moon. Running back to his parents, telling them, Mom, Dad, I got into a fight today with my classmate. I know the first thing Dad will say. I know it too well. Did you hit back? I think of an even younger version of the moon, a baby crying in his mother's arms. He just bumped his head into the corner of the table. The first thing his parents will do is pretend to hit the table so they can satisfy their little moon. So they teach him, you never stop crying until you get vengeance soon, you never forgive until you inflict pain too. I think of this moon now, I think what his dad will do. How will he be okay just after praising his son for hitting back to turn on the TV and start complaining? How will he be compensating for the deed he did, for the lesson he bid, for the seed he used sewage water to water every day? How will he turn on the TV and see the war, the blood, the rage, the gruesome loss of humanity? How can he accuse these people of insanity? How can he grumble and growl about what they're doing while using profanity? How can he be so blind by his own vanity? How dare he ask what kind of parents raised those villains? How dare he ask what kind of slum they lived in that lacked civilian? Well, sir, I have the answers to your questions, sir, and I just do hope you take them as more than just suggestions, sir. Hopefully with a pinch of salt too, sir. It's apparent they were raised with parents of your kind, sir. It's obvious they lived in a slum like the one you lived in, sir. Can't you see it, sir? Can't you feel it, sir? You're one of them. You are raising one of them. Telling your child to hit back and never backtrack. Telling your child to use their hands instead of their tongue. Telling your child to never ever forgive and forget. Telling your child it's an offense to be anything like a girl. Telling your child to never apologize for what they've done. Showing your child to never blame oneself. Showing your child that hate's easier than love. Showing your child to do now and think later. Showing your child it's okay to see someone then stab them in the back later. Showing your child what usually animals would do, as if you're telling them there's no reason for why we have a voice. There's no reason for why we have brains. There's no reason for why we're called brothers and sisters, and there's no reason for why we're humans and not animals. But there is. And I know one. Everything we do is accounted for. Unlike them. My friend nudges me. I look at her. She looks at me. I smile. Okay, so my spoken word poem Butter and Shane Khoizan's poem How to Be a Person are similar in a way. Where my poem is the alcohol on the wound, his is the balm on the wound. On one hand, I'm angry at some people's way of life and their exploitations to the privileges of humans, or being human. On the other hand, his poem is about how to be a person, how to do it right. So I'm scolding the reader, saying that this is not how you do it, it's not how it's supposed to be, and he is showing the readers how to do it. My poem was written in response to something that happened in school with my friend, just like I told you. My friend told a little boy who tried to hit her that boys don't hit girls. And I'm tired of hearing this. I'm tired of parents telling their children to hit back and to never forgive until they inflict pain too. Personally, I was raised in a house where violence of any shape, way, or form, even shouting, is not allowed. Thus, the fact that some parents will be okay with their sons to hit anyone, as long as they're not girls, ticked me off. There were many things on top of that, but that was the highlight. Therefore, I wrote a poem about it. We are immorally exploiting our minds, brains, souls, senses, and everything else. We behave like animals and not people, which is immoral, and it leads us to do more immoral acts. Do you think that I took it too far again? I mean, do you see the effects, or do you think that the way the parents treat their children doesn't have an effect on them as adults? What do you think? Leave a comment down below telling us what you think. Bye, see you in the next podcast. Hope you enjoyed. Bye-bye.